Morning, guys. Gave myself a little bit of a haircut this morning, but I couldn't get the back, so it's got a pretty good mullet going on here. I'm into it. So we're working with the stool here. We have the two legs put up together, the cleats are on, the rails are all ready to go. They have been pre-drilled and all that good stuff, and I have them labeled on the inside in terms of what they are, front, top, and that side the arrow points to which direction it goes up. I noticed, however, that on the bottom side of these legs, at least on the one leg, we have it pretty rough right now. And in fact, if you look at the other side here, we can see some chip out like along the edge there. So I want to push from the direction the chip out's at, and I just want to kind of clean that up so it looks better from the outside. Now, one thing I can do here to try to show this a little bit better is I can draw some graphite on here to show you what I'm trying to remove. So I'll put like a line going like that, a line going like that. So I'm really only trying to get this outside line off. And by pushing this way from the chipped edge and kind of having a slight angle up like that, I'm compressing the wood back on. I'm not going off of the edge of the board. If I filed off this front edge here, I run the risk of peeling out some of the grain going that direction. But when I'm pushing onto it, I'm compressing that. So I'm looking to get what appears from the outside as a nice, smooth arc with minimal chip out. Some of this is going to have to be sanded at the end here, but I've done what I think is an improvement to what we have here. And the last I'll do is just use my hand. Kind of you asking about the hand. This area here I would do. It's round. If I really wanted to be perfect about it, I would go ahead and take like a piece of wood, like maybe something like this. And I would set it in here, and I would draw that curve right there. I cut the board off here, and I cut the curve off the bandsaw. Then I can put the sandpaper on the curve I've created, and I would know the curve is exactly what my curve is here because I copied it right off of my curve, and I would use that as my sanding block. But this is not something that's seen. I'm just trying to get the burns off and have it be smooth. Okay. And now I'll also be able to come in this direction here and kind of sand in this direction and try to just kind of taper that down in and try to just dumb out some of those chips. I'm really not even sure where those chips came from. I don't think the bandsaw would have produced those. I'm not sure. I think maybe, I'm not sure. Nick, you'd be able to answer better where those chips came from, but I'm just trying to mute them so that they're not real obvious. This gradual taper that I'm sanding into this is not going to be noticeable, but it might take out some of those chips. Okay, you can see those chips there. That's what I'm trying to remove. Okay, and in terms of the outside, I don't really care about that yet. I'm at the rails all attached first. Okay, so we'll go from here. So now we have the two legs, and all these rails that we put on here, they just get sat in here, sat in here, sat in here. This one gets stuck in here because it has two sides to it. So the back bottom rail is the first rail that I want to attach. So I have labeled back bottom and up. And I'll shove that in. Remember, I worked to make sure that was nice, snug fit when I did it so that I can have it in there and it's going to hold everything together. So what I'm noticing here is that this is a little bit wide yet. I want to sand this so it fits in there better. So I'll take the other side off as well. I'll put this device. And this time again, I'm going to use the block that I had and put it down below. I'll do the same thing on the opposite side here. Okay. Now let's see if that helps us out. Set that down. And see if I can get that in by hand now. Looks like I can do a little bit more. Doesn't quite want to fit in there. Okay, now that fits in nicely. So I'll get that shoulder up against. Really important that this area right here, the shoulder, is in contact with the leg. That's part of the joint. In fact, it's a very important part of the joint. A lot of times I'll see legs attached to the rails. They didn't quite get the rail all the way through the leg. And that compromises, or that loses a lot of strength by not doing that. Okay, so now that really is held together pretty well. I don't have to do much in terms of holding that posturing in anymore. And I can go ahead and put the other ones on. So my front bottom, where my 1/8 inch hole went through on the back side, sometimes there's a little bit of a chip out. You can see that kind of flaked up there on that back there. I want to knock that off with my finger. I don't want any like little material like that preventing me from getting a good connection here. This one I didn't have an arrow, but I have written up. I can write it right on it here because my top step is going to go onto this. And this is the front bottom, sorry, right here. My bottom step goes right on top of that. Okay? And this one is my back top. That's the one that has the angle on it. Fits in just like so. And this has moved on me here, Okay. And this is the should be front top. It is. So that goes on here. Okay. So I want to get this thing held together, meaning I want pulled in like this because I really do want it to be on the shoulders there. So I'm going to grab a bar clamp. If I clamp it right in the middle here, there's nothing to support that. So I'm going to try to clamp it 2 spots. I'm going to clamp it across here because that rail is keeping my span consistent. See, if I go in the middle here, I can kind of like pull the inside corners tight, and that's not what I want to do. Inside, not corners, the inside faces. Kind of warp the thing. Something else that I want to point out that I'm doing here is I'm keeping my bar clamp parallel with the front there. That's going to help ensure everything stays proper. Okay? Make sure my rails are sitting nice and tight and flush with my front, as they should be. Now, we are going to glue these. However, we're going to pre-drill everything first and get it all screwed first, which means that when you use your drill and you put the screws in, you've got to just not ram them in there. We're making some threads into the wood for this. So I have that there. I'm going to put another clamp going across the top here. Oops. Okay, again, I'm trying to stay nice and square with that. A lot of times I will have students, if your back bottom rail doesn't sit as well, I'll have to put this triangle in here. And in fact, it would make sense for me to do that for mine too, because if you can see, I have a gap towards the end there, which means that this thing is not completely square. So now it is completely square. You can see now I have it said it is closed there. So that's how I want it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and clamp that again and check it for square once I've done it. Right there. I don't want to have my clamp be over the end. I'm not trying to clamp the length of this rail. I'm trying to clamp the legs in against that little shoulder there. Okay, so that's tight. I want to see how that looks for square. Pretty good right there. I'm going to go ahead and clamp that tight. So I have some speed clamps here. And I'm just going to... I'm clamping directly to my project material. A lot of people get concerned because I'll put dents in it or what. Number one, I'm not clamping real tight. Number two is I still have to put plugs in these holes in the front here. So I still am going to sand this again. So any kind of marring that I would do here is going to come out, and it's going to be minimal what I'm doing. I'm not putting a lot of effort into clamping this. Okay, and I can always use another device. Here's another square. So see, make sure that this side looks like it is square. That side looks great. So I can go ahead and just leave that as it is. So everything looks good right now. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pre-drill my holes here. So I'll get a drill. And an 1/8" bit. When I drill this, I want to see that my bits appears to be lined up with the leg behind it. That's important, okay? I also want to make sure that my rail is tight against my leg and tight down also. So it's sitting in there and it's sitting square. Everything looks good. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to have my eyes over top of this. In fact, I should put some safety glasses on for this step. So my bit is going to go into my existing hole. I already have my rail pre-drilled. So my bit's going to go into the hole there now. And now I'm already against my leg. So I'm going to have it at a high RPM. Go in, bring it back out. Okay? I'm always in the mindset that I like to secure a screw after I've drilled the first one because I don't want things shifting on me as I go along. I know that I've done all that I need to do to make sure that I have the square, shoulders against, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to put a screw in. We're going to use 1.25" screws. And the reason that I get these exterior ones for you guys is because they have that square head and they're much less likely to strip. Reality is, this can be done very easily just by using a Phillips, but I see a lot of the students struggle in class with that, and the square heads do a much better job of not stripping. So I'm going to get a square head bit. And a driver bit. So this one looks pretty good here. Just make sure that this squares come in like 3 different sizes, just like Phillips heads and just like the torque heads and all that kind of stuff. This one looks like it fits pretty well. So I'm going to get, this drill. I was going to get my impact driver and put it in. Impact drivers are extremely strong and they can drive screws really very well. I'm going to set this drill to like 8. So 8's my clutch. Remember, I counterbored in here and I left probably about 1/4 inch of material there that if I wanted to, I could probably drive that screw straight through. I don't want to do that. I want my screw to stop when it bottoms out against that face. I have my left hand behind the project here. I'm holding on to it as I'm pushing as I'm pulling, or pulling as I'm pushing, whatever you want to think. You see how that stopped there with that clutch? I want to go a little bit further than that, so I'm going to go up to like a 13. That looks good. So that's where I'm going to stop that. That clutch makes it so I don't go too far. It also does a nice job with like brass screws of making sure that I don't strip the brass screw very easily. Okay, so now I'm going to go back and I'm going to do the top drill here. Line up. And students ask, if I pre-drill too far? You can't pre-drill too far. When we pick a pre-drill, we think about what material we're using, how soft it is, so forth. But you want to generally have it be that you can see the outsides of the threads, just a little bit on the outside of the drill bit there. So when I look at this, I have the drill bit in front of the screw, and I can see the threads are sticking out to the bottom and top of that. Not the middle of the screw, though. That's how you decide on which one you're going to use. Snugged it up nice. Okay, that's on. I'll do the top here too. Once I get a couple of these on, I'll be able to take off these clamps, but for right now, they're not bothering me. So I did only the top 2 there. I like this song. I just noticed the rail was sitting up a little bit, tapped it down, and drilled it again, so that when I put the screw in, it doesn't pull it back up. People, they come apart. Wish we were in the shop together, folks. This is actually a lot of fun this morning. I kind of have dips and turns with this coronavirus. It's like getting depressed or so forth, and then getting all excited. I feel pretty good right now because I'm hanging out with you guys. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and pre-drill this one. Battery dead. These lithium-ion batteries, they don't like give you just a little bit at the end there. When they're done, they say, I am done. I am not doing it anymore. Did I get the whole thing? Nice and even at the top there, the lid didn't come down. Just the hair. Good. Good, good. Static there. Okay, so now I have the top screws in each of these rails, and this thing is together, right? It's actually extremely strong right now. It is surprising how much stronger a stool like this is when we have our shoulders in contact. And let me show you again what that means. So if we look at the tops of this, this is our shoulder right here. That's the part that's staying in contact with this. So we wrap around it at 90 with those rails there, and they all do that, right? And by having them tight on there, this thing is extremely